Are we doing beer episode?
Yep. Beer episode. All right. Well, welcome back, boys and girls, men and women, and all of my favorite patriots. Welcome back to Waking the People. I am your host, Sir Chad Everett Broshears, and I am accompanied with my co-host, Joshua. Throw it out there, my man. Tell us all about you.
Good evening, my fellow patriots, our loyal subscribers. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Waking the People. If you have not, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can get updates whenever Chad and I post more content. Don't forget to pound that bell so you can get more notifications and see our beautiful faces every time we post videos for you. It is a beautiful Friday evening in Tampa Bay. If you're not in Tampa Bay, it's a beautiful Friday evening, just not as good. I'm excited, Chad. It's gonna be a good episode. We got a lot to talk about. As always, it's not finding something to talk about. It's nitpicking and choosing what we think is going to be the most enjoyable. So, it's another week in 2021. The madness continues. A little economic stuff, some going on. The Fed said, don't worry about interest rates and this and that. Inflation's not really an issue, so that looks good. They say that gas prices are going to be this is like their plateau point, but we'll see. But other than that, we're going to touch on a little bit of everything. Chad and I are going to begin with a topic that I kind of just randomly thought of. And part of it has to do with Chad has another show, which you have not watched. Maybe go check out. It's called Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, which I was a guest on once. So it's a great show. It's a great show. And it kind of, is the catalyst point probably to this show, to be honest with you. But we're going to talk about how we got here. And what I mean by that is how we got to this point in society where discussions are voided, right? They're almost unacceptable to discuss your position with someone else, and kind of what plays into that, a little bit of maybe a little bit of a deeper sense of the roots that are growing at this point with just the inability to critical think, the vast rationalization that we have. So it's going to be good stuff. We're also going to talk about kind of a sweet spot with me. The shooting in Atlanta. If you don't know, I'm born and raised in Atlanta. Went to Georgia State University. Lived, I'm a Georgia Peach. As much as I'm love to be a Floridian, there's always going to be a Georgia Peach part of me. We're going to talk about some local stuff. We're going to talk about Florida and how there's going to be some changes to our athletic departments and our athletic associations in the state regarding transgender and women's sports, both at the high school and middle school level. We're going to talk about DeSantis changing up some education procedures that have kind of jumped us to this point in society. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Chad.
That's my homie. Love me some DeSantis. Damn, one of the few politicians that actually gives a shit pro-America. All right. Well, welcome back. Thank you, by the way, Joshua, for really kind of like setting the stage for all of us. For anybody that's interested in and or wanting to find out how this fine young man Joshua actually looks as a human being, you're going to have to venture over to our channel on YouTube and Rumble and a few other platforms coming soon. So some technical issues on bringing him on the Facebook Live, but we're going to laugh about that because we're 15 minutes behind our scheduled time to start. So with that, we're just going to get right into it. So let me give everybody a little bit of a little precursor to the episode. Josh was giving you the insight, what we're going to kind of go through this process or through this episode, but this is another beer episode. It's another throwing back and enjoying the hell out of it. And Joshua's got his commie beer. I'm sorry, his old school American beer. And I have an assortment because I don't have a problem. I enjoy myself. So with that, I'm going to start it off. Joshua, do you want to do yours or want to do mine first?
I think it's funny how the beer episodes are continuing. I think that in 2021, it pretty much just made beer episodes just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what's going on. You just make it a beer night. You'll get through it. Why don't you go first? You've never
All
gone.
right, I'm going first, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, I bring you this sweet, sweet, sweet water. Now, this one right here is an IPA. This one is the 420 strain. And the reason why it is called the 420 strain is a little known fact for the locals that may be out there. The 420 strain tastes like you're drinking marijuana. Yeah, it is so incredibly hoppy. I feel like I'm actually, my titties are swelling. Well, because of the estrogen that hops gives you. In case anybody wasn't aware of what the hell I'm talking about. Yes, the hoppier a beer is and the more hops you use, the richer they are, the more it increases estrogen in the body. And apparently I was told that I'm a little too alpha recently. I'm not going to tell you why I was told that. But they're like, you know what? You need to tone it down a little bit. And I'm like, you need to shut up.
Right. I'm only.
There you go. There's my commercial. So Sweetwater, by all means, sponsor us.
Hey, do you know where that's brewed at? Do you know where that's brewed?
Where's it brewed?
Atlanta, Georgia, baby. That's
really?
Yeah. That's a beer that put us on the map. I remember when you couldn't find 420 in any other brewers besides in Georgia. I remember when Chick-fil-A wasn't even outside of Georgia. Like if you went to like New York or like a different city that wasn't in the state of Georgia, the only place you could find a Chick-fil-A was in the airport, and that was it. When I moved here in 2016, I was still scared that you couldn't find a Chick-fil-A in Florida. I'm not kidding. I was like, Mom, is there Chick-fil-A there? She's like, yeah, there are. But
it's the Lord's chicken. By the way, you said, guess where it was actually brewed? And you said, Georgia. My first guess was going to be somebody's bathtub. Whatever, whatever. You go with you do you, honey boo. You drink whatever you like. I'm going to go ahead and muscle my way through here, and hopefully I don't. It looks like I might actually end up with child support at the bottom of this one. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I switched up a little bit. Most of the time, every episode I've been going Yingling, but today I went with the staple. You got to go with Coors Light, brewed in Colorado. I heard the brewery is amazing. And just a fun fact for all of you beer drinkers out there: every time I turn the TV on, all I see is Bud and Bud Light commercials. And they're actually a Chinese company. So once I found that out, a friend of mine informed me. I switched over to Coors Light, and I haven't bought Budweiser since. So Coors Light, Mick Ultra, especially with Chad's analogy, or his example of the increase in estrogen, I'm probably going to drink Mick Ultra for the rest of my life now. But sometimes we'll mix it up. Okay, Chad.
All right, let's get into some subject material. Not everybody wants to see us sit around getting drunk. Okay, I don't get drunk. I'm a professional. So with that being said, sitting back and catching a buzz, because sometimes when you talk about politics and world events, you kind of got to lay yourself out there. Wow. Are we really? I apologize if we're glitching out like crazy. Yep. We're ready to take donations, so Papa Bear can get a new laptop. Son of a bitch.
Interesting.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to do this. Facebook Live. I'm going to go ahead and drop the video for the moment. I will bring it back up, but I'm going to bring it back up on my cell phone. So with that, y'all MFers can catch me in just a minute. I'm going to be popping back up on my cell. But we're going to continue along. So Joshua, tell us a little bit more about the commie beer. I'm sorry. Which one was that again? The Coors.
So Coors Light's actually brewed in Colorado, and I guess Budweiser used to be an American brewery. I can't remember the year, but over the years, China has been buying shares and buying more stake in Budweiser than the Americans actually have. So now it's predominantly owned by China, and also another big indicator you can see that it's China. Is that they brew it with rice. It doesn't use hops. It uses rice. And if you ever get a headache from drinking Budweiser, that's why. It's because that rice will definitely give you a headache. And that's why I switched from Bud Light over to Coors Light, even though I really wasn't like a big Bud guy to begin with. I was more the Miller side, but went with Coors Light. go to the gas station, you get the 4-pack for like $4. You can't go wrong. 4 tall boys, you don't have to commit to a whole 12-pack. So yeah, I just went with that. But, you know, economy's rolling pretty good. You know, we had a decent day for all my stock listeners. You know, it was, I think the NASDAQ was up like, don't quote me wrong, I had to look, but it was up. And it's funny because I've heard a lot about people being scared of the rise of inflation. And normally, okay, the NASDAQ was up 0.7%. That's not too bad. And the SPF 500 and the Dow were down 30%. I think that a lot of that has to do with the Fed having an announcement yesterday at 2 o'clock that they really weren't super concerned about the economy, and they really weren't too concerned about interest rates this year. So that's why you saw a lot of money come out of the more value plays in the SPF 500 and the Dow, and moved into the NASDAQ, which are more, you know, growth stocks. They have a little bit more riskier, but, you know, more room for potential. Normally when there's fears of, you know, rises in interest rates, that means that these growth companies, when they go to the bank, they're not going to be able to get as much money from the banks because the interest rates are higher, and therefore they're going to have to pay more back. So it's going to be harder for them to raise capital, which then means that their stock price is going to go down. So that it was interesting. I'm surprised. Because for the past like 7 or 8 weeks, all we've had is just NASDAQ being crushed. And that normally means that people are scared of the rise of the, you know, interest rates and inflation. But today was like the exact opposite. I mean, it wasn't a giant move up, right? It wasn't even 1%, but it's still a pretty good sign as far as what I think that the big hedge fund owners and the big money holders in the United States, what they feel about the economy moving forward. So it's a good sign. You know, it could be a good year, Chad.
Hey, I'm hopeful because I got a little bit of money floating out there trying to collect daddy some retirement. And also, I hear that the stock market feels a lot like somebody else that we know that we found new appreciation for. At least one of us found some new appreciation for, and that is.
I apologize to nobody.
You're goddamn right. Apologize.
Bernie hates the stock market. Okay, speaking of Bernie.
Yeah, the billionaires. They're the evil ones. They're the billionaires. Now that I'm a millionaire, they're the bad ones.
Right, Bernie. So let's start off. I mean, let's talk about how we got here. And what I mean by that is, why do we live in such a polarizing environment, especially in the political realm, to where the ability to have a different opinion, or the ability to, you know, discuss and defend that opinion in definitely a public setting. But not only that, even in closed settings where it's just you, family, friends, it's almost like it's been completely shut down. And that even when you present people with credible information, that they still they'll just, you know, throw it off. Oh, conspiracy theory, you know, it doesn't fit my mindset. So therefore I'm not going to even entertain the idea that I could be wrong. And again, like Chad and I have said a lot on this show, like both of us are, you know, we're independent, we're party independent. We may lean more one way than the other, or vote more one way than the other, but I'm still open to, you know, to give some shine to the great Steven Crowder to change my mind. Like if I'm wrong, I want to know I'm wrong, because if you never know you're wrong, then you're never going to grow. And I don't know why, especially now, that valuable asset that is to defend your position, and if you're wrong, to learn from that, is completely being scrubbed out of everything.
The scientific method, right? Stay open, do what you can to disprove what you know, so that you can move the knowledge forward. And then look for common traps, like bias confirmation. There's so much that goes into how do you use these things to stop yourself from actually falling victim to violating scientific laws. So we're always open to grow and develop and continue along the process of learning more and more about who we really are, where we stand with everything. I don't close my mind. It's not a closed book by any means, but I also, if you do get involved in a conversation with me and you make allegations or make statements that are pretty broad or pretty general, I will ask for information about how you came to that point and to please clarify what you're saying. So with that, my mind is always open to change. So how do we get where we currently are as a country? Some of that does come by way of how open are we to change? Trait openness has faults. It's not all good. there's no single attribute about a human being that in itself or in isolation is all good. So it will always come cost benefit analysis. So with that being said, being extremely open to other people, also typically very empathetic, is also a method to get people to be controlled by emotional persuasion. Now, am I saying that everybody's empathetic is emotionally persuaded? To a degree, but I'm not saying that you're, easily manipulated. There's going to be certain things that line up with the way that you see the world, the way that you think about things, and those things that line up that way may be something they know how to trigger, or they know how to, and when they say trigger, it's actually more of the gun analogy, if you will, in this, like you pull the trigger to get an executed result. So, piece of lead flies through the air faster than, I can throw an insult. So with that, if you want to be able to control a mass, you find out what the common element is that you actually have that is persuasive with that mass. So how do we get where we are as a country? Well, first off, we're a nation that likes its freedom. What does freedom have to say about itself? How can you define what freedom is? All right. So with that, Joshua, how would you throw a definition of freedom out into the world, right? Something that would be an instructed way for other people to understand how you view it.
Freedom it is kind of an interesting concept because it's not liberty. I don't think freedom and liberty are the same thing. I could be wrong on that, but liberty, I guess you could say freedom is you have the means to pursue certain avenues, whether it be like religion, freedom of speech, freedom to not walk down the street and be killed. It's kind of it's a hard word to really describe, but because I know a lot of people who are from like Thailand. I know a lot of people from outside the United States, and they actually say, they say United States is the land of the free, but it's really not free. Like there's a lot more places in the world that allow a lot more things. Like we don't have as many laws, I guess you would say, that we have more laws, they have less laws, which kind of, I guess, most people kind of intertwine law and freedom to kind of, I guess, to be enemies, maybe in a sense. But I guess it depends on what values you identify the most with, like to me, freedom would be like freedom of speech, freedom to be who you are, freedom to live, freedom to pursue your dreams, to not have unnecessary obstacles kind of in your way, versus, having to overcome or, do unnecessary things to achieve a goal that doesn't meet those obstacles you have to cross, if that makes sense. But I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think, Chad, about the freedom?
Yeah, with the freedom out aspect is one thing I'm going to add to that. By the way, I've had to stop something here. Our live version for Facebook had to drop off. I'm going to try it one more time here in a bit. But there's a technical difficulty and they could not hear anything. So they could just see us or see me staring and making weird eyebrow movements and things as I tried to figure out what the hell is going on with the volume. While today is definitely, maybe our computers are drunk or mine is drunk. Beer episode. Freedom would be the ability to express yourself in any way which you desire to express yourself with minor restrictions. And now I say minor restrictions, I don't mean minor restrictions as in you can't clip your toenails a certain way. I mean minor restrictions in the sense that you cannot cause harm to another person without consequence. But the freedom to be able to move about and everything that is a territory that we claim, the ability to interact, the ability to choose the path in which you want to live. If you have, and this is something that we as a nation miss a lot, is that because we were raised in this, it pretty much spoiled us because we don't know what it's like to have a government say that we can't say certain things. We're only now becoming more like aware of this. We also don't know what it's like for a government to tell you what kind of job you can or can't have. This is something that socialists and communists don't understand in this country. You will be told what kind of work you're allowed to do. So the more communistic the company or the country becomes, like socialism is the selling idea of communism, predominantly, you can just use that as an easy way of explaining it. Once you get to a certain place, and the communism has established itself in such a way in the country that it's in, you can't pick your job anymore. And from birth, you're pretty much going to stick around with that. So with that being said, there's a lot that goes into what we actually call freedom. Joshua, you can go off and get educated in such a way that you can get a job in an area that would be completely different than whatever you decided when you were younger, and also whatever your family had actually done with themselves prior to you growing to the age of beyond reason, but into the workforce. You have the ability to take that job. You just have to have the skill sets and be very good at what you are in interviewing and present the best option. That's a lot of what freedom is. You know, freedom is, I can tell you to F off. And the only consequence I really need to worry about, as long as I'm not at work, is I may have damaged my relationship with you, or I may not be able to reverse or go back to that relationship and make it into something, or grow that relationship from something that is non-existent. But I have the ability to do it. Oh, I could also say, there's so many things that you can do and say. You could go on vacation. You can choose when you can go on vacation. That may sound strange to other people. That's not the case in other places. Some places, you don't get a vacation. These people that don't understand, they bought into and drank deep of the Kool-Aid, because this Kool-Aid is quite delicious. I've had a couple of sips of it myself. Oh, yeah, you got to yeet that shit out of here. It's sweetened with yeet juice. Yep. Sweetened with yeet juice. Jesus, that's going to go on a freaking shirt too next. So what we don't know is that in those countries, what we use is they use Delaware, they use Sweden, they use, you know, some of the European countries that have something closest to, or very close to, socialism as their examples. We can do it. They don't understand the financial requirements necessary to be able to do that. They don't understand all of the elements of the deep detail. What they do know, though, is that they could potentially not have to work as hard and have a lot more. The only way an individual is going to be able to have a lot more is if the country has more in order to provide for that person. But the person needs to provide for the country. Otherwise, where the hell does it come from? The country is not a living organism that is a single organism. It is a conglomeration of us as Americans. So if we want to be able to have the ability to go off and go on vacation at whenever time we want, as long as we have the financial ability to do it and the ability to move around, if our jobs don't punish us for it or whatever, you can go travel at any state that you want to, until, of course, the new administration quarantines you because you don't have a vaccine card like I will not have. And they want to come and try to make me. Ooh, we're going to be fighting, baby. Ooh. All right. So with that, I'm getting a lot of messages on Facebook. There's some people that really wanted to jump in on this video.
Well, you actually made me think of something real quick, and it's socialism. They love to paint this idea that socialism is for the everyday man, but in actuality, socialism only really works with people who are very well off, because it's a complete destruction of the middle class. There is no more middle class. There's the haves and the have-nots, and the haves don't mind or paying more taxes because they can afford to, and it almost guarantees that they won't have any more competition because you're taxed more. So if you're super well off, like, you know, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, everyone promoting this shit, then what does it matter? You're not worried about competition anymore, because anyone who's in the middle class and has the opportunity to move up their class status, which is so great about the United States, like you alluded to earlier, that, you know, take it out. You know, and that's honestly, maybe I don't want to segue, but a little bit. Yeah. So China's middle class is growing very fast. And I think that eventually you might see an end to the Communist Party in China, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know about China as well is it is not a solely communistic country. It is a communist capitalist country. It's a hybrid. We'll have to do an episode on that at one point in time. But if you're more interested in this, also there's China Exposed is another really good YouTube video series or podcasts. Awesome stuff there, by the way. So, but point of it is that freedom is something that, it's not $1.05, right? Trey Parker and the boys over at South Park, or the people that made Team America. Yeah, it's funny. Freedom is $1.05, but it does mean it's going to cost you something. So with that, we do need to understand what does it take in order to have it. So when we talk about where we are now, some of why we are where we are is because it comes from our freedom, and it's leveraging against ignorance that's inside of our freedom. The ability to think whatever direction we want to think, do what we want to do in a lot of ways. We have so many opportunities. And then what do we get? Because we're in a position that we've accomplished so much, we've gotten very comfortable. And whenever a human being gets comfortable, it has a habit of finding things to be busy with. And in my opinion, we've been manipulated. So we've been manipulated to have us fall victim to this idea of, like racial inequality and things like that. Does it exist? In some instances, yes. But to the level of what society is pushing down our throats now, I'm going to say no. Now, I have a reason for saying that. And whoever it is that's out there that wants to attack me for it without finding out why, you're fighting a straw man because you don't know why I think the way that I think. Steel man the argument before you actually try to come after it. And you may understand where I'm at, and we can unify better that way versus going, oh, he's a white supremacist. The furthest freaking thing from it. Well, okay, not quite the furthest thing from it, because the other side of that's going to be, other extremists. So I'm not in that environment. I'm in the unity environment. But a lot of this stuff is you're going to hear things that make you uncomfortable. I've heard plenty that makes me uncomfortable. It's what we do to grow up. So
absolutely. And a lot of it has to do with, I put down click for chaos. And I think that the media is playing this gigantic role as far as like, I had someone tell me today that actually put a really good perspective on it. It was that, let's say an event happens and the media just says, this was clearly bad. Nothing to talk about. Okay. Yeah. We all agree that. But if you can nitpick it and maybe create something that is possibly there, but not quite proven there, then you're going to create controversy, which is then going to increase viewership, increase clicks, increase, animosity or just a total overall coverage of that information. And it's both sides too. Like, for example, today I keep seeing on more conservative Instagram pages or Facebook pages a video of Joe Biden walking up to Air Force One and he fell 3 times, and they were like making fun of it. Like, I'm not a Biden fan, but I don't want to see anybody fall. Like, what do you like? How is this saying he's a bad president because he tripped? Like, we are losing faith. We are losing touch with what being a united society means. And a lot of it derives from this freaking issue right here, is that no one wants to be wrong. No one wants to fail. No one wants to have their mind changed. And it's so much easier, like Chad said, to just straw man each other to death and never have to confront the fact that maybe we're all wrong and none of this is right. And maybe we should change to something else. But if we never have that discussion, we're never going to get there.
I agree completely with that too. And by the way, it's like people that are laughing about it and all that, all I see is this petty idea to get even over the 4 years that we've heard the media attacking President Trump. And it's like, all right, if that's what you need, just my advice, don't make it public.
Yeah.
Don't push it out there, because all you're going to do is create more division in the people that actually do support you. I don't give a shit. The man misstepped. And then, you know what? If I'm walking up the stairs and I know that the country is watching me, or 14 people or whatever it is that he gets as far as his popularity, whatever it is, I'm probably going to be pretty worried about it and maybe make 2 more missteps.
Yes.
I'm by no means a Biden apologist. I can't stand the man, but I'm not attacking him over the fact that he fucked up and he tripped.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? And if that's how you want to try to create this idea that Biden is this bad person because he fucking tripped up some steps, come on, man, we got to grow up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Got to grow up. Okay. It's the same bullshit as those this crap ass media that as soon as Trump said something about the fact that, UV light and specific, what did he say? It wasn't disinfectants. It was something else, but they made it into like Lysol in the veins. All right. This the same damn thing. The man fucking tripped. Who cares? And if you do care, do work. Do something. He tripped. Now, if you want to say he tripped and therefore he's not capable of running the country, let's talk about how you got to that. And then we can talk about what's next. If he's unfit to run the country and he tripped because you feel like he's an invalid, is kind of my leaning. I do think that he's more of an invalid. He's been propped up and protected. But him tripping doesn't make a damn bit of difference about how I feel about him as a president. Don't care. Don't care. Now, I do care about the fact that he won't do a live presentation to address the nation. And from what I did hear about Putin giving him a little challenge, we haven't fact checked that, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But I will tell you this. I'm not going to say go Putin because I'm anti-American. Putin would wipe the fucking floor with him because he can't even take questions without somebody interjecting and shutting off the feed. All that aside, I don't want to see our president get his ass kicked in a debate. I don't give a damn who the president is. We already look weak enough as it is as a country. We look like squabbling fucking idiots on the world stage. And people are like, oh, well, let's just throw him out there. Yeah, it's kind of funny to think about how the debate would go, but that's not going to come without consequence. This is somebody that has been declared to be the president of the United States. Do I accept it? No. Am I going to fight it and say the rest of my life like a fucking tinfoil hat wearer and then say, never, no. If it is, right? Do I want to see it get overturned? Yeah, I'd love to see that because I really don't think it is awarded the way it should be. But if I have to live in this, I'm going to have to navigate it the best way I can because it's not going to do any good to fight things without actually having a plan. Okay? So, with that being said, the man tripped walking up steps. This face should tell you everything I feel about that. I don't care. Sucks. And no matter how much I dislike him, I do hope he didn't hurt himself. I'm sincere. No funny joke to follow this. I don't want to see another human being get hurt no matter how much I dislike them.
Yeah. No.
Okay? Well, the exceptions. There's some exceptions, okay? Because would I want to watch something bad happen to Hitler? Yeah, you sell tickets. I'll buy one. Right? Do I want to see Nancy Pelosi kindly escorted out of the House? Yeah, I watch that. By the way, when I say kindly, I don't mean violently in any way. All you have to do is go up to her and just be like, come on, Nancy. And she'll be like, oh my God, I've been hurt. Yeah, it's an atrocity. We need a 9/11 level commission to find out why my arm has this purple spot on it. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm 15 days past my last, what is that, androchrome?
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Jake Paul get his ass whooped by Ben Askren on April 17th. I'm super excited about that. But that's a fight. So like when I see that someone fall and all I see is like criticism, like it doesn't make any sense. Like he's older. Like it's still a human being. Like, and that's a big, big issue. And like we said, it goes across, it goes across both boards. So I'm glad, that we finally kind of hashed that out a little bit, figured out maybe what are some issues that are going on with why we are where we are now. I'm actually super glad to hear that I'm not the only one that feels this way, because again, looking at my social media, I see a lot of people, a lot of Instagram pages that I like posting that and kind of getting clout or just getting, again, it all goes back to that damn, click for chaos. No matter what it is, it's still just, chaos sells, and we'd rather people be upset or be scared than everything be in harmony. So a little bit of local stuff, Chad. I'm super,
Final thought on that before we go. So really it's like to reiterate and to close up with that thought is that it is people waiting. It's like the busybody on the street, like the person that lives in your neighborhood that somebody had, left the whatever they didn't bring up, or the trash can was in the street and they got pissed off about everybody else, and they're spending the rest of their day and the rest of the week, or they become known to be the person that's just gonna like, well, that person headed off to the hospital, maybe they're okay, maybe not. Oh well, moving on. The analogy that I'm trying to make with this is people that are sitting back watching Biden trip up steps, and they're like feeling the sense of satisfaction that he misstepped and then he tumbled his way up steps, which is, it is kind of funny when you watch somebody fall upstairs, but funny in the sense that it's rare and it's just odd to see. But the fact that he fell, I don't give a shit. So, but what I see is it's the people that have so much built up animosity on the other side that have watched Trump get beat up left and right over the stupidest shit from not only the media, but also social media. They're just getting their pound of flesh. This is not one that I think is worthy of getting a pound of flesh on, because it makes those people look really ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is there funny values? I saw one with Trump's golfing and a golf ball flies over and hits in the back of the head. It's comical because it's set up to be comical, but just the fact that he fell, that's not funny.
No.
Don't give a shit. He slipped. He tripped, whatever. Now, has he not actually made a good State of the Union address? No. Nancy didn't let him do it yet. Right? No, he has not done the things that we would want to see, but Trump had no problem with it. He's like, shit, I've got to go to the bathroom or I can address the nation. Fuck it. We're going live.
What if they were tag team partners? What if we came to this agreement and said, listen, I know we don't like you guys, or some of you like you, some of you like you. We're going to tag you guys up. So okay, Putin, you want to do a debate? Biden can just tag Trump in.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Joe. I got this.
That the world would buy tickets to see Putin and Trump go at it. But Putin and Trump can see as world leaders eye to eye. So that is a good one to transition, or we can go further. And it's something that I do want to discuss after we drop Facebook, even though I've dropped Facebook 3 times this season, or 2 times. Sorry, guys. We all love you, I promise. But all right, so one last thing on the whole pain thing. I do want to throw this out here. Let me do this because this fucking microphone is a bitch lately.
This is pain compliance, okay? It's not meant to be comfortable.
That's right. Trip up those stairs, you get that pain compliance, whatever. I don't care. Let's go on. Okay. So what's our next topic there, Joshua? I want to apologize, everybody. I felt like I needed to do a Chad rant and like Al Gore, just bitch and bitch and bitch, and hopefully people will listen. But not like Greta.
Right. So I want to transition a little bit. Some of our Facebook viewers might not like where this cuts off, because you're going to have to come to our channel and
you see, that's studly,
they're going to have to see what I look like, and you have to hit that subscribe button. But we're going to talk about something that's actually really, really super close to my heart. And I said it in the beginning of the video, and that I am, born and raised in Georgia. I went to Georgia State University. A big part of me is a Georgia peach. And that's the incident that occurred earlier this week in Atlanta, as far as the spa shooting goes. And even before this, because I was talking to my mom, who currently lives in the Atlanta area, and I was like, hey, I want to come home for that fight I actually mentioned earlier in April. And she was like, Josh, it's actually not a good time to come home in Atlanta because there's a lot of shootings. And I was like, at first I was like, dang, it's really for my parent to tell me maybe we shouldn't come home because of all the incidents that are going on in Atlanta. That kind of scared me. I mean, again, I remember going, my parents taking me to the original Chick-fil-A, which is in downtown Atlanta, going to downtown Atlanta. Georgia State's in the middle of downtown Atlanta. I spent a lot of time there. And the fact that my mom told me maybe you should rethink that, consideration actually really hurt. But this 21-year-old guy entered a spa, or I guess it was multiple spas, I guess it turns out, and decided to, kill everyone in there, or at least the majority. I think it was 6 people overall. And the reason why he said he did it was because that he was a sex addict, and that those places were temptation spots for him, is what he said. He was asked if there was any racial motivation behind the shooting. He said no, that was not it. And some of the suspects, some were Asian, majority were Asian. There was a few white people. There was one Latino who was not killed but was injured, thankfully. And yeah, I guess it ties a few things together. That guns and is it the person who has the gun, or is it the gun itself, or is this a mental health issue that we have to deal with? Which honestly, the fact that he was a sex addict could definitely spawn into pornography and kind of what the internet has created with that. And it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. I think we'd rather blame the guns instead of what our youth or what everyone chooses to consume. But yeah, it's sad. Anytime you see a shooting, especially in a random act and not, in a place where you grew up, it really hits home. I mean, I think they said that homicide rates have gone up in Atlanta, which was almost recovering. Like when I moved from Atlanta in 2016, like it was on its way back to being much more, less violent. It was kind of, the crime rates were dropping. And, since I guess 2017, 2018, they're up 60%. So that's not good. And part of me thinks that it could be a lot to do with this, defund the police movement that's going on, and kind of, not maybe looking at the bigger problem that is mental health, looking at the big problem, or looking at the problem that may not be exactly the problem, which is gun ownership. So yeah, Chad.
Wow. What it makes me think of too is that a lot of times we get in these like little self-imposed echo chambers, if you will. And it's, as somebody just said also on Facebook Live, it's the person behind the guns. It's a lot like, well, let me finish this thought, and then I'm going to jump on that Facebook Live comment as well. There was a gentleman named, he was a young man that was in college, privileged lifestyle. He came up from very wealthy background, all of this. His name was Elliot Rogers. And he was an incel. He was involuntary celibate. What we're starting to dismiss is the care a young man requires. A young man does require care. We typically give guys a harder time, being a guy included. I do give guys a harder time than I typically do girls, or men to women. But I do try to be an equal opportunity kind of offender kind of guy whenever it comes to the way that I give people a hard time, and joking around playfully, right? But this guy, Elliot Rogers, very similar situation. He had a girl that he was he was infatuated with, and it absolutely infuriated him that she wouldn't date him. And he had 2 Asian roommates, I believe. He killed one of them, shot the other one, and then he went on a shooting spree in California. Now, this was back in 2015, I believe, 2014, 2015. Elliot Rogers, if you get a chance to look him up. Now, to go to the point of, well, let me finish the idea about we do need to figure out a different way of giving care to men, and how a different way of giving care to young men. We have a society that likes to give kids, like boys, or you just aren't going to get the same level of empathy, the same level of care whenever somebody interacts with you. But you're more likely to get more of the hardship, which is grow up, knuckle up. You got to be a man about it. If you scrape your knee, you got to be a man. True, we do need to bear a cross. Sometimes that cross is painful. That happens. We have small crosses that we carry whenever we, go through a heartache, whatever it is. But we also want to look at whenever we have men being sensitized by the more of only a mother in the house. It's not saying that that's a wrong thing. Saying, well, what I am saying is that households that do have man and women in the house typically have the equal energies, where, a lot of guys are the disciplinarian and the mother is the nurturer. Comment. Doesn't mean that it's impossible. I'm not saying that. I am saying that it does change the dynamic that the child was raised in. Now, if we need to start treating men and young men differently because of having a very strong female presence and not really having a strong male presence in the home, that also means in the emotional state, as they're entering into adulthood, they do have to be treated a different way than the way that a lot of us have been brought up. No, I come from a different household. I come from a household, the father and my mom and dad lived in the same household for a long time. We were rife with all kinds of issues, but that point is that I still had both there. Mom was the nurturer, dad was the disciplinarian. Right? That was the way that the household worked. Now, we have a lot of single family homes, or single parent homes, I'm sorry, where we get a lot of these people and they raise the child the best that they can. And again, they do a good enough job that the child is raised into adulthood. But we also see a lot more adults that live with their parents, 40-year-olds that live with their parents, 30-year-olds that live with their parents. We see a lot of 20-year-olds throughout their 20s living with their parents. Sometimes you got to fall back. I get it. Hard times happen. But there's also people that don't have a plan to get out. They buy a fancy car, they do whatever, and they put themselves in a financial trap they can't get out of. So makes me think of the Elvis song, "Caught in a Trap, Can't Get Out." Now I want to sing the whole fucking song. But the point is that we do have to treat people differently, because we'll have instances like this. The media wants to make it into a hate crime. 2015, they could have made that into a hate crime, but it wasn't popular. It wasn't really necessary back then. So also look at who was the president at the time. There was no reason for the media to try to turn that into some sort of hate crime. Elliot Rogers made his intentions very known. He had a very strong female role model in his life, and she had her partner and his father, those several different male figures, but he didn't really have a present male authoritarian in his life. So he grew up with this idea of hyper privilege. Everybody should bend to his will, really was the way that it went. So if you get a chance, watch the videos from Elliot Rogers. I believe they're still on YouTube. It's worth watching. You will get a deeper insight to what I'm talking about. So now we have this other gentleman that went into massage parlors, shacks, and started, committing crimes. He was hurting people, killing people. What was the total so far? Do we have that?
I think it's 6 is what I have. 6 people.
6 people killed, or 6 people?
6 people killed. One person wounded. The Latino man was one that was wounded.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to recover from his injuries as well.
Yeah, good. I'm glad he's going to at least recover from it. We do have a movement that does have an increase in Asian crime, like people being attacked that are Asian. Oh, and Asian also being people from India, because they technically fall into that category. We're seeing a rise in this. We've also seen some issues with this. There was a gentleman that was attacked, and there was footage of this other gentleman and making a full-on sprint. I mentioned this, I think, in last week's video, where he tackled the man and hit him full speed. He fell to the ground, and he ended up dying from his injuries. He was an older man. He was somewhere like 80-something years old. I apologize, I don't know the exact details of it, but I've heard the story several times now from different sources. And this individual, he ended up dying. Well, the state prosecuted that person. They took him to court anyway. The judge ended up throwing it out, saying that it was an opportunity for racial equality. So with that, there's a dangerous precedence that's been set. We need to be very vigilant over how we treat each other. First off, do not let the government be the person or the entity that helps us stay united. We are the United States of America. We, the people, make the country. If you feel that the politicians are making us separate or divide, or if you feel the media is dividing you, don't be a victim to what they're trying to make you think. Some of us do have to take a step back and go, what you think is absurd because of what I know. That's understandable. But to sit back on it for a second and think the other person may think the same way about you because of where they're being educated, where they're being informed. We need to come together. The party of unity is not the Democrats. They're not the party of unity. The party of the unity is United States of America. United. That's the party of unity. So if we want to be able to hold ourselves together and overcome the challenges that are being presented by the media and also by the government, in some states and in federal and also local. We need to come together and start making sure that each other are informed, but stop attacking each other. And attacking doesn't mean that you're choking somebody out like Homer to Bart Simpson. No, doesn't mean that. It's not also the pain compliance audio piece that I put out. It's the attacking each other by not hearing each other out enough to say, I get it. If you follow me on Facebook, you will see me do this with people where if we have differing opinions, I want to understand where your opinion is. If you hate Trump, fucking great. You hate Trump, but I'm going to come at it with why? Why do you hate that man? Where did you pick up that piece of knowledge? So if we want to stop these types of situations, we need to start unraveling the situations. So, all right, I've gotten preachy and we're dropping people on Facebook Live because they want to hear that sexy voice of yours, not my raspy old man voice.
Well, it's like you said, like there is, like I've done the research, I've looked at statistics. There is an increase in Asian directed, I guess you could say, crimes across the United States. And I don't feel that the best issue to bring this up on news is, this case. I mean, the perpetrator, obviously he's white, based on the picture that they posted, and that he came out and said that this was not race motivated, and that was based on my sex addiction, and these places were, temples of temptation, I guess you could say. So I did some research. I looked up some statistics as far as overall homicides or violent crimes in the United States. And the thing that really interested me was from 2017 to current, it's very hard to find. The only thing I could find on the FBI's website was from 2017. So I'll go over some of the numbers, and I'll go over also some that relate more to the Asian hate crimes. Actually, I'll do that first because I think that it's going to be more appropriate. So, we're using this case in Atlanta to catalyst this, rise in Asian hate crimes, which is true. But let's look at all the places that have the most highest Asian crime. Number one, New York. Interesting. So the party that's, predominantly jumping on all these, hate crimes actually is really, really based in New York. And that is 833% increase in Asian hate crimes. New York, number one. Care to guess what's number two, Chad? Los Angeles, California. Interesting. Up 114%. Okay. So the people you're voting for are obviously not doing that great of a job of achieving your goals. Number two, Boston, up 133%.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So, a lot of these states are blue is the consensus we're coming to. And the fact that the media is painting this picture that this is a conservative issue is ridiculous. Number four, Seattle. Okay, interesting. Again, back to my previous point. Number five, San Jose, California. It goes on. I'm gonna push you the answers real quick. There's not one conservative state on that list. So the fact that this was the case they decided to push forward with and push this issue, which is a real issue, and the fact there is a rise in hate crimes and targeting the Asian community in the United States, which I completely agree and I completely see happening, but it's not the people that they're painting the picture for. That's my biggest issue on this. Now let me bounce to some other statistics that I found in 2017 from the FBI as far as homicides in the United States. This is black and white. I couldn't find anything about Asian or Latino, which is kind of disconcerting. Like I want to see that information. That's math is the if someone makes an allegation, I want to be able to see numbers behind it to make sure it lines up. So let's go white on white homicides or violent crimes in the United States. White on white, 80%. Okay, we're white on white. 8.9% were white on black. 88% was black on black. So 88% of homicides and assaults in the United States or violent crimes were black on black. And 16% were black on white. So the numbers that we're painting as far as, why is there a rise in gun violence? Why is there a rise in crimes in the U.S. moving forward is not what the media is saying. It's honestly, it kind of, the more crime, the more hate they promote, the more clicks they get. I mean, like we just said, if we all got along, who's going to click? If everything is all gravy, it makes no sense for us to tune in. So this right here should really fall back on what we started the episode with, is why we are where we are. And I just read you all the states that have an influx of Asian hate crimes. Again, completely agree, but it's not the picture the media is trying to paint. And
I agree.
It's and I can go on, because a lot of the times what I hear is that I hear school shootings, which are predominantly done by white people, again, kind of increasing that, that narrative of hate and separation. I went and looked up some stats on who the victims were, that these horrible acts of violence that we need to now, I guess, separate into race, and how that, plays a role in these horrible events that honestly should just be completely erased and forgotten about. But so let's look at the Columbine, because that was one that was kind of, that was kind of the catalyst to this, this school shooting that we've dealt with. So there were 13 victims in the school shooting. So one was black, the rest were white. In Parkland, there were 14 white victims, one Asian victim, one Latino victim, and one black. So again, that narrative that, oh, white people do the most school shootings, and that kind of plays a role into their, increasing this race hatred that we have to live in. Again, I just read you the numbers. That's not the case. The problem is violence. The problem is we're not unified. That's the issue. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with control, manipulation, and just distorting what is actually going on.
Yeah, I think there's so many facets and so many factors that go into what is the problem, what is it that makes it up. So I do have a couple of comments here, and I'm not going to disagree with a lot of these, right? Like, so far it seems like when I receive an email or a text message from a political party, the one that's trying to make me see things more emotionally is always the Democrats. Always. Now, again, we've said this to the point of nauseum. I'm a non-party affiliate. I side with the Republicans because right now they're the most sane party that we have. Overall, not talking about these fucking rhinos, Mitch fucking McConnell, worthless piece of shit, and then a few others. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about like real, true Republicans, Ron DeSantis types. All right. So with that, we do have a gun safety trainer that's in Facebook feed right now, and she's had a lot to do with training, and actually her and her company and coworkers are very proud of the fact that they have been doing a lot of gun safety and situational training with Asian Americans. We do have other people that are commenting as well. I'm just wanting to touch some of these. One of them actually said one, I didn't laugh at this, but Lisa, I apologize. Whenever you said California, and then afterwards, no, laugh out loud. I agree. As far as like California having a lot of hate crimes going on, but you will find a direct connection. All you have to do is look at the data. The data will lead you to some very significant solutions. Again, I didn't come here because I'm a party affiliate. Didn't get here that way. What I'm looking at is I want the most logical information. I am scientifically educated. My preference is that we find out the most truthful answer possible, but stay open to change that. We also got a nice little comment here from Damon telling me to shut the hell up and put you on because you're far more appealing. Our good buddy and partner in change for the world and support through the world, Alvin, jumped in and he said, hi, amen to my little joining rant. And then Lisa's commented again. I was saying no to Boston. Oh, she was actually saying no to Boston, not California, because she's from Boston. All right. Reason why all that stuff is valuable. Again, as this show continues to grow, please, everyone, bear with us. We're still growing in this. I am the old man between Joshua and I, not just in years, but I've been doing this since 2015. But I've been doing this all on my own. I've not had any kind of professional support to develop this, to make it better. So with that, be patient with us. I don't know what happened with Facebook earlier, but it happened nonetheless, where we had a couple of videos that just were extremely unsuccessful. So I think I've addressed everything that I see so far that really kind of stands out that should be addressed. So with that, as Joshua was pointing out, a lot of like every one of these areas, Atlanta is not red. Atlanta is blue. Georgia was a red state until the corruption. Sorry, a little something in my throat there. That happened back in November 3rd. We kind of shifted that state around a little bit. Bullshit. I'm sorry, I got something in my throat. Let me wash it down with some sweet Guinness extra stout. Wait. So that being said, Josh was pointing at an extremely beneficial position. If you've ever noticed that you're consistently emotionally excited or directed every time you interact with somebody in particular, you may want to look at the person, not necessarily get caught up in what they're getting you to think. So that being said, I left a lot of things that I felt weren't beneficial for me in the past. And a lot of those things be, specific, religious organizations that I was involved with, friends that I was involved with, things like that, when I realized that their interests were not mine, and that in order for them to achieve their interest, it had to come by way of my cost. I left it for a reason. So that being said, Joshua, I'm going to stop fucking going on because I'm using sentence enhancers when it's not necessary. So what's our next topic before we drop off Facebook Live?
Honestly, we've been burning through topics. We really only have one more to talk about. I mean, we really do.
Oh.
Well,
what is it? Let's hear it so that we can get rid of it and then lure them over to be subscribers so that we can actually possibly make a little bit of money in this process and replace our daily jobs.
We're going to talk about DeSantis and how he's moving forward with legislation as far as education reform to change how our youth is being educated, and as far as building hatred towards America. And the reason why that we opened up with what we opened up as far as why we are where we are is, if you can tell, every subject that we've talked about today ties back into that. For example, this on our topic, this building up of hatred for America, as far as the mistakes we've made in the past, and like slavery, and like some issues that we've created, but we've worked past that. And whenever you talk about people, raise your hand if you're listening if you have not made a mistake in your life. Okay, so no one raised their hand, right? And I feel like that is a big support line, so to speak, as far as what the United States is all about. We're not saying that we've always got it right, but we consistently try our best to make sure that we do, right? We're always, and honestly, the woke society that we live in right now is actually proof of that, right? We're proof that, if people have ideas or they have a lifestyle that they so choose to use, they should be able to, live that lifestyle, even if not everyone agrees with it, even if it's shoving it down society's throat when they're not necessarily ready or they don't understand it, they still were trying to move forward. So I think it's funny how a lot of political people, or a lot of, I hate keep saying the left, but Lord, like it seems like it's not just the left, but right now especially. I mean, so why can we nitpick and say we got certain things wrong that were, equally bad, but now that's okay, don't worry about it. Like for example, Obama's immigration policies were horrible. That's what started the kids in cages, and no one talks about it. That they put it off on the next political party. So it's the nitpicking. It's the, we didn't, before, maybe trans people or, LGBTQ, which is, I kind of don't like that they combined all those, because I feel like that's kind of, in my view, it's kind of disrespectful. I feel like that they're all different: lesbians, bis, gays, transsexual. They're all different. So why combine them into a group? Honestly, that kind of offends me. You know what I mean?
The answer for that is that it is how you create a unified group that you can weaponize.
Yep.
No, if any one individual is insulted, then it insults the entire group. And that's the goal, is constantly doing that. They've done it with race. They've done it with every single value. the party of division is the Democratic Party. Now, am I saying that some of the rhinos, or I'm sorry, the Republicans aren't divisive? Absolutely, those bastards are divisive. There's plenty of them. So, what is that? T. Boone Pickens? No, sell our water off. Go right ahead, you son of a bitch. Oh, he's out in Texas, by the way. You get a chance to look into him and some of the stuff he's done. So, it was funny whenever Trump talked about the kids in cages thing. Only funny in the way he outlined the situation, not by the fact that kids are in cages. By the way, kids are not freaking cages. Kids are separated because nobody can verify when they come to the border that they can stay with the adult that they arrived with if they arrived with adult at all. Kids were being used like a human shield concept, but as a human shield of motion and or credibility. So if they come in, oh, well, that's a family. Let's keep them together. They're probably going to be, a good option to move forward in the line of people to vet into the country. So they are absolutely, and Jenny, man, you are on point tonight. Yeah. By the way, there's a person in the chat that says that she went to school with Ron DeSantis. And she says he is a good man, all cap letters. And I'm going to follow that up with you bet your ass. From what I can see, I agree 100% with that. So speaking kids in cages,
Ron,
speak talked about that. I'm sorry.
So just to stay on topic a little bit, speaking on Ron, so some of the things that he's going to do as far as his, his anti, the stop of anti, education or anti USA pro education, is going to eliminate the teaching of critical race theory in schools. He's going to eliminate anti-patriot reactions as far as not standing for the Pledge of Allegiance or refusing to. Not that you're still in your right not to do it, but some schools, they teachers don't even tell you to do it. Also stop the promotion of these negative ideas to children. So it really is it's a forefront, just like Chad and I are talking about. It's not like USA's always we haven't always got it right. But we are always trying to work towards that path, and the nitpicking and the combination of certain ideas and just the kind of the crowdsourcing, I guess you could say, as far as just getting this herd going together. It's good to see that we're actually kind of starting to get back to what we're all about. It's about how this is the land of the free and home of the brave. Last time I checked, there weren't millions and millions of people trying to immigrate to Germany or immigrate to United Kingdom or all these communist countries that some of the left love. They're not trying to get there, they're trying to get in the United States. So we should be continuing that narrative, how great it is to be the United States and what we stand for and what we're going to continue to strive for. So
right, stay bedrock, stay what everyone calls the land of the brave and the home of the free. Oh, that's necessary. This is a political war. This is not we're not in a hot war. We're in a political war. There are more things that we're going to end up touching on, but this is the point where we are going to be separating from our Facebook Live family. I do appreciate you all jumping in. I love the fact that we're getting the feedback that we're getting and the comments that we're getting. But we are going to go back into the main channel and finish up the episode. So if you do want to catch with this or keep up with it, catch it, by all means, do jump over and join us for that. So with that, we're going to bid you all adieu. Now, thank you so much for everybody who commented in the text thread there. So with that, we'll catch you all soon.
Woo!
I already started recording.
We're back,
Yes, we are back. All right. So with that, I could not have pressed record on a better moment. Thank you, Joshua. Oh, I love it. All right. So welcome back, everybody. So we've done what we needed to do after we left our wonderful fam over in the Facebook and other live environment. Okay, it's just Facebook, right? I'm not talking too hyperbolically. All right. So with that, we're going to finish up the episode. We don't have a lot of subjects left, but who knows how far this one's going to go. But Joshua does have one that's pretty near and dear to himself. And also I got something to say about it as well. Go figure. I got something to say about something, right? So with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. And let's get back into it.
right?
Yeah.
So Chad and I kind of hinted to it earlier in the episode about LGBTQ and how they have combined all those, sexuality preferences into one group. And I myself have grown up around people who, who are gay and people who are, I've grown up in that environment and I've heard what they have to say about that. And normally it's not anything positive. Like, first off, your sexuality preference is not the most important thing about you. So the fact that you have to identify so strongly about either your sexuality or, or maybe even your gender is honestly, in my opinion, it's like irrelevant. That's like me meeting you and being like, I like big asses, that's what I identify as. I'm like, okay. And like,
I'm sorry.
When I judge people, I don't judge them on their sexuality. So the fact that they combine all these into a group and somehow, say that they all feel equally in this regard, as they may feel equally as far as rights go, but as far as, culture, as far as, just their daily social life or, whatever they do that identifies with that lifestyle, they're not the same. It's not the same to be lesbian. It's, there's different, hormones, right? It's two girls. So there's a lot of different characteristics there. Same thing with gays, a lot of different characteristics there that only gay people understand. And the trans community, I'm sure, is the same way. So it's unfair to combine all of them together because they're not the same. And to be honest, that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It just means that they're different lifestyles. And again, me and Chad have said many times, we don't care what you do. I don't judge people based on, again, your sexual preferences, or else I'd walk around with a shirt that says I'm an ass man, So we have to stop combining people into, what Chad alluded as, it's easier to control that way and it's easier to create noise that way, even if it's not necessarily noise that is, merited or wanted, gay rights. A lot of people were for gay rights. Like, if that's your so choosing and you want to get married or, gay marriage, it doesn't bother, I feel like, the majority of the United States. And we just have to stop lumping people together and just, assuming that a whole group feels the same way as, AKA, Republicans are all racist and Democrats are all not racist. We have to stop lumping so many, different types of people together and assuming that they all feel the same way.
I can't say it better than that. I was going to say that it would take a lot for me to say it better than that. I can't say that either. I couldn't say it better. What I'll add to it is one of the things that I hope that we can do with our channel, and one of the many things that I hope that we can do with our channel, is get people to recognize when they're being weaponized. Weaponized is the word of the day. It's the Pee Wee Herman thing. It's like fucking the couch is going crazy. Everybody's like throwing confetti around. If you don't know who Pee Wee Herman is, then Pee Wee's Playhouse is going to seem like a weird analogy and you're going to think that I'm a lunatic. Point of it is, I probably lost like almost everybody who watches this except for like whoever's my age, which is 2 days older than Dust. Wait, not Dust. That's young. Dirt. So this whole weaponized thing, when you put a group of people together and you say, okay, we've got the alphabet community, right? LGBTQ, there's 2 new add-ins. I forgot them and I apologize to anybody who's offended by it. You know what?
LGBT.
Grow up if you're offended. Really, let's go there. Let's just grow up if you're offended, because I'm offended by stuff, but I don't cry about it and try to get people fired for it. So I just deal with it because that's what adults do. But all right. So with that, we have this group of people. You'll have people that are gay that you won't know they're gay for the people that are in that straight category. Like, there's plenty of people that I have. One of my most admired men in my life is a gay man. He is the most and absolutely landslide most articulate human being I've ever met. This man has me reaching for a dictionary and a thesaurus whenever we have conversations. And I can't tell you in a linguistic way, and I've studied linguistics, I love linguistics. I cannot tell you how many times I've stopped him and say, I'm not familiar with that word. And he uses it so passe, like so in a minuscule in the way that he like approaches the word. And I'm looking at it going, shit, if I learned that one, I'd be using it every fifth sentence, right? I want to practice that into my vocabulary, right? So he's gay. He's never told me he's gay because he doesn't need to. He is not represented by LGBTQ, whatever the other ones are that I'm missing. He's not represented by those people. He is a very interesting human being. I admire the hell out of him. I am a very straight man. I don't care. It's not there. We don't have any kind of static between the two of us. We don't care. He appreciates me. Yeah, he's been attracted to me. I don't blame him. I'm a good-looking guy. But not narcissistically good-looking. But I'm working out, so I'll get there soon. But he and I have such great appreciation for each other. We don't care. If somebody attacks somebody who is a drag queen or what do they call that now?
I think drag queen. You don't see, I mean, I know Hamburger Mary's closed down. At least they closed down some locations. They closed the one on 19. I'm not sure if they completely closed down as a business. I don't think they did, but they definitely had to close down some locations. But I'm pretty sure it's just drag. I mean, it's just part of a show. You know, back in the day, back in Shakespeare's time, you know, girls weren't in plays, so men played girls. So that's, you know, it's pretty common. I love how, again, we're combining this idea that, you know, they identify with this group, and that's just not the case. It's just, you know, it is what it is, as they say.
This is what we say right here. This is what we say back here. So with that, all right, we are at a position in our society where mainstream media tells us how we're supposed to behave, and then politicians jump on the bandwagon to try to reinforce it so that they get their votes. So let's put it this way. I've gone to drag bars. I've gone to gay bars. There was a joke back in my 20s about how I would go to gay bars to get free drinks, which, by the way, don't do that. I mean, if you want to, fine. You do you, honey boo. But I had a lot of, I throughout my life have had a lot of gay friends. And I will tell you that of my gay friends, they do not identify with this political movement. They identify with, I'm living my life. That shit is ridiculous. So whenever I say weaponize, what I'm saying is that whenever mainstream media and or politicians want to garner either you tuning in and getting them money, if they want to get to the point where they want to make more money, what they do is they excite you into doing something or saying something or feeling a certain way. So if that's the case, right? Hamburger Mary's, it was an awesome time. There's a thing down in there's a place, if you're not from Florida, if you live in Florida but you haven't been here yet, there's a place in Dunedin. Dunedin is such an interesting and quaint little town.
Loved it.
This place is awesome. I love it. So there's a place in that area. I don't know if it's still there because it's been a little while since I've been there. It's been about a year and a half, I think.
You gotta get out there, man. We were there Wednesday.
Yeah, but I live an hour away from it, or 45 minutes away from it. So, and I'm not an advocate for drinking and driving. And you know what? I'm a baller on a budget, so an Uber would even be expensive.
That's true.
And the girls that I date typically don't want to just be sober, so old dad and Papa Bear can get drunk. All right. So, but then again, I got a friend that lives in Clearwater that I could sleep on anything in his house and he'd be happy to have me over. So maybe I should look into that. Anyway, all right. Clearwater, Dunedin's really close if you're not geologically aware of it. And maybe I just used the wrong reference because I'm a fucking idiot anyway. So why is anybody listening to me with credibility? So point is, we have all these different things. So if you want to weaponize a group, you combine the group and you tell them they're supposed to think a certain way. What does that do to you if somebody tells you that you're supposed to think a certain way? Let's say you're gay and they tell you you're supposed to be offended whenever somebody who's transgender is offended. What does that do to you? How do you feel about it? But they tell you you're supposed to be offended. It's up to you to feel the way you want to feel. Look, I don't get upset whenever I hear a group of straight people have been attacked. I don't give a shit about the straight value. I care about the human beings being attacked. That's what I care about. But whenever it's put forth that it's supposed to be an LGBTQ, or again, I apologize, there's 2 other ones that have just recently been added. If I don't find the event that happened to be as impactful to me to be upset about, because the news and the politicians led in with your identity over the actual incident. So if it's like the Georgia kid that went in and or was it a kid?
He's like 21. You know, so
21?
He's an adult, but I mean, intellectually, he's a child. Yeah.
Yeah. Emotionally and intellectually, he's a child. Yeah. Probably an emotional midget too, but whatever. All right. And I would say that because the guy went in. Absolutely. Anyway. All right. Not to digress. So point is that shit, I lost my goddamn train of thought. You know what? Everybody cancel Chad. Chad sucks. Well, you know, Joshua, I'm sorry. I've been going on like a fucking preacher right now.
Again, like you don't like the people that I know in the gay community, the best thing about them is not their sexuality. And I love how we love to like lead with people's their differing traits, no matter what it is, you know, no matter whether it's race, no matter what sexuality, no matter what's, that's not the best thing about them. And that's honestly like a super small, if not irrelevant piece of information about them. And I feel that this movement not only creates this, this whirlwind, I guess you could say, but it also enhances that beast that says, you know what, you may be super smart, you might be a computer whiz, you might be a great speaker, you might be great at math, but you're also a lesbian. So let's focus on that, because that's where they're messing you up, right? It's that small freaking fraction of who you are, but we're going to amplify that to be all that you are, you know. And then it's again, I'm an ass man. You know, like it's when you say it in a straight format, it's meaningless. But when you say it in, you know, these, you know, different, you know, sexuality preferences, it's completely different. And again, that's part of the problem, because we're narrowing people to, you know, not only as what, you know, society identifies them as, but what they identify themselves as, right? And they think, oh, damn, like, you know, I'm trans, so this is the best part about me, and I need to make sure I exploit that asset as much as I can. No, it's your lifestyle choice. It's what you prefer. That's such a small piece of you, and let's not lose sight on all that people have to offer, and not let the media create this chaos and continue to, you know, ensue this, you know, hurting, so to speak, of this movement. And because again, I know people in this community and they don't feel the same way. It's a it's always the few that ruin it for the many, always, and in almost every aspect. And I think that LGBTQ is no different.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to agree with that too. I'm going to agree with that too. As if we have a lot of disagreements, although we're open to it. We don't think exactly like, we think a bit alike. So what comes to mind is the loss of autonomy. Who wants to lose their autonomy? Like it's disgusting when somebody tells me that because I'm a heterosexual white male, that I have a specific set of beliefs. It's disgusting to me, because it's like, you don't even care to know me, and you're going to try to hold some sort of position of authority over me. which is also means authority means privilege, you're not going to have it. You're not going to. And if anything, I want everybody in my life and anybody who's going to watch our videos and be a part of this, I want them to understand this as well. I really do not want you to lose your autonomy. I want you to be you. I don't want you to be a part of the group. So, Joshua, you just shotgun me. He did a little. Yeah, meaning that I think if that's the I absolutely support you, or I'm coming after you. Because there it is. Yes, crack that. Oh, I get what you mean. I'm sorry, everybody. He meant drink.
Yeah, you did
You know
great.
what I do? Like whenever I'm in person with people, I tell them drink, bitch, and then I
Yeah.
do a little happy do. And if they don't drink, we're not friends.
So let's not focus on the so minuscule part of people. And I feel like race is in there. I feel like sexuality is in there. It's this, you know, this almost bottling up of our essence as human beings. And that, you know, if the media constantly says that because I'm a certain race, I'm going to be left behind or I'm at a restriction, well, that's an exterior source telling you that's how things are. That's not you figuring out on your own that actually life is what you make it. And life is about the decisions you make, not exterior reasons why you can't achieve them. Because all that does is pigeonhole yourself into believing this narrative that they say. I mean, I know politicians that are gay, not going to say any names. I know, I mean, you know, I've had doctors who are black. I've had, you know, professionals in my life, massage therapists that are Asian. Everyone is able to achieve goals if you set your mind to it and not let exterior sources tell you what you can and can't do. And I think that is something that maybe my generation, being, as you know, I helped someone out on the, you know, comment thread a couple of weeks ago as far as what millennials believe, because I am the millennial of the show. But you know, most
way to call me the old fuck on the show.
well, I am the millennial of the show, and definitely our generation. And someone pointed this out to me earlier. Our generation is kind of starting to grow a little bit more, and we're kind of moving to that position as far as, you know, directing things. And I feel like most millennials, they pigeonhole themselves. I know I've pigeonholed myself many times in different aspects of my life, and it wasn't my fault. It was the fact that you know, I was, you know, told, or you know, I was groomed, I guess you could say, to see failure as a negative and to see opposition as something to avoid, and you know, not take responsibility for my own decisions and my own mindset, because that's what it really boils down to. It has nothing to do with your race. I mean, Denzel Washington, Steve Harvey, as many, you know, as much negative, and again, beautiful point, as much negative publicity that Steve Harvey has gotten for his mistakes, he's got a freaking beautiful story, and he'll lay it out for you and tell you it has nothing to do with what color I am. It's because I said I didn't give a shit. I'm not going to give up. So don't pigeonhole yourself. Exterior sources don't control your world. You do. Maybe you should go back to Chad's other channel and watch Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, when me and him did a whole episode on the law of attraction. And what that means is that your mindset attracts what you see the world as. So if you see negativity, if you see suppression, if you see reasons why you can't achieve things, and guess what, baby, that's all you're going to see in life. But if you see opportunity, if you see optimism, if you see the future, then that's where you're going to be.
You know, you've just given us an amazing place to just end the show. Mic drop, you son of a bitch.
I heard this Chinese guy. I love to watch like motivational videos. I love to hear people's outlook on life. And he said that, especially in your 20s and 30s, or any time in your life, he said that failure can be a great revenue source. And I loved that freaking comment, because what he meant is that when you mess up, you learn from your mistakes, and then you thereby generate, even if it's not income, you generate some kind of positive value in your life based on that mistake. And if you choose to never have discussions, defend positions, defend why you could be wrong, then all you're going to run into is a negative, negative, negative. Just like we're saying, you know, I mean, the way to get rid of racism, the way to get rid of inequalities is not by constantly pointing out areas where they exist. It's to silence the people doing them, you know, and if the goal, right, I keep fucking bouncing around, Chad, I can't help it. Like the goal, if Apple wanted to create the perfect iPhone, they could right now. They could create the perfect iPhone. But would you buy the next one? No. So why would the media, why would our government, why would the people pumping information at us create the perfect world? Nothing would sell. You know,
Well,
that's what really boils down to.
They wouldn't be able to control everything that they want to control. No, and I don't like being controlled. I don't. No, so once you wake up to it, the reaction that you typically people have is resentment and lashing out. I hope that we don't get to that point, but do know that the best way to be able to lead your life is to just identify that, you know what, you might have been asleep. You might have been manipulated, and I will assert you have been. I have been many times by many people in different situations. If you're ignorant and somebody is more developed than you are, there's a pretty good chance that they may, if they just want to get ahead pretty quick or easy or whatever, they're desperate, you're a source to help them get ahead because you're ignorant to their awareness. I don't want that for my life. I don't want that for the people around me. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm just, you know, this hopeful dreamer, you know, that's just trying to change the world. But I find so much of a dishonesty with the way that we're handled, thanks to the way the media and politicians treat us. There are so many people that don't feel the way that their group identity feels. The way, and the group identity predominantly is actually told to you, not how you feel. Be aware of that. Don't be don't be don't be their reason for what they're doing. Be your reason. All right. I don't have much else to say about it. Like, I'm really impassioned by this and I actually feel my stomach moving a little bit. I want to say churning. You know, that moment when you feel like you're really just at that place where it's like, fucking explode, right? Like, just go with it, make a difference with this, be the power, to be the thing that you know that you are, to just be that just brings it back to what you know to be solid bedrock. That's that sensation that I have in my stomach now. It's not the beer, by the way, but I mean, if I would have had a couple more of those fucking 420s, God damn. I don't know. I probably would not have felt that way. I've been crying in the corner watching soap operas. Did you watch The Bachelor? Joshua! I don't want to talk about all that. Oh, God. All right. Look, my position on this, I love you. I love you. And what love for me means is that I accept you for who you are. Now, if I feel you're playing a game for pretend, I'm going to fuck with you. But I'm not going to fuck with you in a malicious way. I'm going to do it in a playful way. Perhaps you're playing pretend because that really is what you become. And sometimes you got to shed the behaviors that hold you back from becoming that. And the behaviors that you need to shed in order to become that may be what I know you for. And that's why I'm giving you a little bit of a hard time. But I don't come from a malicious place. I really don't. I don't want to see hardship on anybody. As we discussed earlier in the episode about Biden tripping upstairs, I don't want to see anybody hit hard times. The only time I actually am okay with hard times hitting somebody is if that is the potential event that could change the behavior, that shifts so that we see that person has more of what they want. That's it. That really is it. Other than atrocities that some people put onto the world, Hitler and all that. But those are the far outsiders. So, all right, Josh, I don't have a whole lot else to say at the moment because it's a beer episode. And I fear that if we continue going on, I'm going to ramble so much that the few people that actually do like me are going to be like, well, I kind of changed my idea about Chad. Anything in closing that you got, my man?
I honestly, I messaged Chad early in the week and I said, I understand why we're not achieving the goal is what we are. It's because we haven't really talked about the root of the problem. So I really, really hope that you digested this episode. The way we meant to present it. And I feel like we touched on a lot of great topics. And to be honest with you, it was actually probably one of my favorite episodes. And I hope that we learned that you are not what the media tells you. You are not what your parents tell you. You are not what your peers tell you. You have to decide who you are and the things that you stand for and what you were put on this earth to do, right? What is the purpose of your creation? And once we get to that point, each as an individual, I feel like this stuff won't happen as much. We won't be able to be so easily manipulated and skewed based on vast, enhanced rationalization of an idea that we're just told to believe. I feel that we'll be much more critical thinking and we'll use our environment and our own personal, experiences to make the best judgment possible. And I think the world will be a better place. So with that, good night, my beautiful subscribers. Stay golden. Just keep your head down, and we'll make it through this. I think we're gonna have a Wednesday episode next week. I will be going to Washington D.C. to see our wonderful special guest that we had, Ethan Gallagher. I'm gonna try to get some content for you guys. I saw this week they actually took down the gates or the walls around the Capitol building. So I'm gonna try to get some Capitol footage. I'm gonna try to get some monument footage. So I'm gonna bring back some DC footage for you guys. Hopefully we can upload that so you guys can see it. So just have a great week. Just be you.
Yeah, you're a fucking stud, dude. You really are. Seriously, and in a very bro-ish way. Let that catch fire. Dude, I wish that I could go with it. Really, I meeting your brother and also hanging out with you at the Capitol. I couldn't imagine a better time. I really couldn't. So I hope you guys have a fantastic time. I'm looking forward to the footage. If we can get good coverage and you can do live with us while you're there, even if it's short term, it would be really neat to see.
Absolutely.
But talk to Ethan about it. Other than that, I got next to nothing left other than I'm going to go play with my puppies. Both of them.
Mine's in mine.
Devin and Athena are about to get some loving. They're going to get some serious loving. And by the way, just so everybody knows, Devin is pitch black. Okay. And Athena, if I can do some SMRI over here, Athena, she's so sweet. She's a pity. She's a pit. I don't know if that went through like SMRI. And if it did, it would probably be creepy. But with that being said, guys, gals, cool cats, kittens, all the rest of that stuff that I said I wouldn't say again, and my fellow patriots, this has been Waking the People, episode 13. I will promise you this. The more we can generate over time, the more Joshua and I will release more episodes frequently. As it is right now, we will be releasing on a weekly basis. As we can start putting together more opportunities to facilitate so that we can start shedding off some of the side hustle, baby, then we will be putting more effort into this. It's just a process of growing. If you decide that you want to be a contributor to that, by all means, please. You can find our Teespring is one way of getting a contribution. Another way is our Patreon that we'll be putting together, as well as other methods to be able to support the show. But the best way for you to support the show right now, if you're not ready for something like that, because this is probably the first tender date, not several later. What the hell am I saying tender for? We know that goes straight to like X rate. If this isn't the first Christian mingle date, Did you just swipe left?
Just you just swipe. It's just a number game.
With all that being said, just share this video, comment on it. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not subscribed, hit the bell notification. You're going to know when we go live. We are on YouTube and Rumble, and we're working on 2 other platforms. Again, this is because I'm old and technology is apparently not my thing. It is. I'm just busy. SMRI. So with that being said, guys, gals, cool, all the patriots and all that fun stuff. I absolutely am ecstatic that I have Joshua the Kraken McClendon working with me on this. And in the same time, also, I'm glad that I woke up in 2018. I will not forget it. And it is a direction for the rest of my life. That is the show. We are waking the people. With that, enjoy. Remember, we're in this together. We will catch you on the next episode. And until then, get the out of here. All right. We'll catch you next time. Enjoy.